you.
I'll start the session.
Thank you, ma'am.
I hope all the participants are here.
Yes, ma'am.
Today, we have dealt with the learning outcomes. If those are clear, then they become the basis for selecting the teaching learning strategies. And even for outcome based education, which the model you are all familiar with, that teaching learning strategies assessment that need to be assigned to the program outcomes or the course outcomes. So in this session, I'm going to focus on few of the methods which have been assigned to me. So let me just go to the presentation first. So I hope you'll be able to see that. Yes. Okay. So this is the presentation which will be dealing with the methods. Now, just giving you what we have discussed yesterday, the learning outcomes. And you remember, I hope you have understood that learning outcomes can fall at 6 different levels: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Now, as far as the instructional strategies and methods are concerned, you try to analyze which particular method is being used by the teacher most of the time. It is, you will all agree with me that it is lecture method as far as theory is concerned. Most of the time we use this lecture method and provide the input to our students, whether it is they have to learn concepts, they have learned principles, or they need to learn or achieve the learning outcomes at 6 different levels. Most of the time it is the lecture method being used. Very few of the teachers, they go in for seminars, group discussions, presentations by the students, and I would say as far as management is concerned, in fact, they will be using the case study method. But other disciplines, maybe a few, very selected few, may be utilizing this particular method of case study. And it is not that case study method can be applied only in the management, but it is applicable to other disciplines where we can have cases. So I'll be sharing some of the cases in the disciplines I picked up. Maybe I may not be relevant to you, but you can think of how those cases become relevant when it comes to the subject which you are teaching. Seminars, yes, obviously, some of the faculty members are utilizing, but the way it is being used in today's context is not the appropriate one. Maybe some of them are appropriately using, but others are not appropriately using, because many cases we have come across where a topic which is of dealing with current developments, the students are given that topic and the students collect the information and present, and they afterward the teacher doesn't have any information about those current developments, because again, from where they have got that information is not available. The resources which have been exploited or tapped, they are not known to everyone. So maybe seminar, if it is not supplemented by the teacher, it doesn't serve the purpose. And many questions remain unclarified in the minds of the learners. And another is that seminars, one topic is assigned to one group. Seminar is where you can have different opinions, different perceptions of the people, or different viewpoints presented by different students on the same topic, which is followed by the discussion. So we'll take up this seminar strategy, which can be utilized for achieving some of the learning outcomes, right? And then the third method, which I'll be taking up, is the group discussion, because here, when it comes to group discussion, maybe it is more focused on the learning outcome at the understanding, and if you are giving a problem for which the solution is to be found or strategy to be chalked out, then maybe it is dealing with the higher levels of learning, that is applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Likewise, the case study method helps us to facilitate the attainment of learning outcomes by the students at the applying and higher than applying level. So, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And here you can see the spectrum of instructional methods which are available. So here you can see that group discussion, case study, seminar, these are the three methods which fall into the category of small group methods of instruction. Now, when we say small group methods of instruction, that means we are involving less than 30 persons, or if we have a large class of 60, that class of 60 can be divided into small groups of maybe 4 persons or 6 persons, depending upon the exact number you are having. So if I go by 4, maybe 40, so I have only 10 groups working in the class. If I have 60, then maybe 15 groups are working in the class. Or if I just 60 students, I divide them into 10 groups of 6 students each. So depending upon what method you would prefer to adopt, 4 to 6 students are convenient to handle. But when it comes to group discussion, maybe you have 10 to 15 members, depending upon the topics you have assigned to them, and divide the class in 2 or 3 groups so that a large number of students can participate in that. Or you can think of 6 students also. So first of all, I'll be taking up the case study. No, case study method. So just look at the purposes which can be served by the case study method if it is properly used by all of us in our classrooms and related to our technical subjects which we are teaching. Case study allows the application of the learned knowledge. So application maybe in terms of concepts, maybe in terms of theories, maybe in terms of models, maybe in terms of the techniques or the methods which are available. Then it is helping the students to acquire analytical skills. Because case study, when it is provided to the learner needs to read that case study thoroughly. And while the person is reading that case study, the questions which have been raised by the teacher at the end of the case study, the reading need to be focused, and thus the person need to analyze the case in detail. Step-by-step analysis need to be carried out to answer the questions which are raised at the end of the case. Then it helps the students to develop decision making, because they can, after reading the case, if they have to chalk out strategy, formulate a plan, or evolve a design, then, or they have to take a decision whether a particular theory, say for example, I have to motivate employees in the organization. So which particular theory of motivation will be applicable? So, or when you are dealing with others, so whether if you want to, there is a crash, there is an earthquake, there is a disaster taking place in Uttarakhand. So, which particular approach needs to be followed so they can take the decision? So, case study method helps the students to acquire decision making skills also. And finally, you can see evaluation skills, because wherever you have 2 or more than 2 theories, models, techniques applicable in a given situation, then you have to judge the worth of that technique, method, material, or technique. And then the students are able to develop their evaluation skills. And if you combine analytical skills, evaluation skills, then certainly you are creating a novel solution. So problem solving skills are, but that will depend upon what kind of case study you have picked up. and what kind of questions you have raised at the end. And then it is based upon the cases, maybe if you have similar cases. So you have cases of earthquake, maybe you have case of earthquake in Gujarat, in Bhuj and Uttarakhand, or you have a case study available of the earthquake in the northern part of the country, Delhi and the Chandigarh region, and so on. Maybe 3, 4 cases which are of similar nature, then a student can draw conclusions on the basis of the 3 or 4 cases which are of similar nature, or on the basis of the case which is in-depth study of particular industry, certain conclusions can be drawn. So you see that when we talk in terms of case study, it is not only enabling the learner to acquire the knowledge at remembering understanding level, but providing an opportunity to achieve the learning outcomes at the higher level. Now the question comes, what are these case studies? Anybody who would like to respond to the question? What are these case studies? Yes? The participants, please. What you exactly understand by this term, the case study? Over to the participants. G.
Case study is a practical incident which occurred related to the topic.
Okay, so you say it is an incident which has occurred, so it can be a real life case study, or it can be an imaginative one which has been written by the person. He has developed a case for making the student understand how to apply the principles. It can be both ways, but you are correct when you say it is an incident and it explains about the incident. So technically speaking, when we say is a reconstruction of real life situation, and this reconstruction is what has actually happened, and it is examined by, you can use case study as one individual student can take up a case study, or a group of students using the mental skills of problem solving. Now you see, specifically in the definition of case study, all those skills, problem solving, decision making, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, are indicated. And this is for establishing the general principle which are included and illustrated in the particular case. Now, when we look at a case, on the basis of this, we draw conclusions. Maybe we come out with which particular general principle has been used in the case, or which particular principle will be applicable in a given case. And it requires thorough study of the case by the student or by the individual, analysis, and then diagnosis of the real or simulated problem. Now here you can say that it is reconstruction of real, or you can have simulated problems, so that general principles may emerge out. So case can be a real incident, or you can create a case. Now let me just share, many people might be thinking in engineering, what kind of cases we can use. We have Jatinder ji from architecture. So what are the other disciplines? Ankan ji, which is your discipline? Hello. Mr.
Ma'am,
Ankan?
mine is commercial. Ma'am, it takes time. I'm sorry, ma'am.
No.
Mine is commercial art.
Achha,
It is
commercial
related
art.
to.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It is
And
related
Dr.
to.
Aruna, which is your discipline, ma'am?
Okay, basic science, physics.
Okay, physics. Okay, but I thought that we'll have number of participants, but at present we are limited. But here I have taken few examples from the engineering. Maybe they'll make clear what are these cases about. And here you can see that one case I have picked up is the Bhuj earthquake. Now, this preliminary report has been prepared by IIT Kanpur, and you see it is a very detailed description of the area and what has happened uh, in the earthquake, how it has affected the various parts of that. And you can see it provides visuals also of the devastation that took place and a detailed description. Now, this case, which is already available, the teacher, I think the civil engineering people or the people from the disaster management, that if there are people from that, they can utilize this case. And at the end of this case, what is the role of the teacher is simply to go through the case first and then raise pertinent questions related to this case. Now, everything is detailed out. So the teacher has to think of, if I have to develop the ability to analyze, so he will come out with analyze the causes for the earthquake which happened. And he can also think of analyze the causes for the devastation, and he can also say how that devastation could be prevented by taking the remedial measures or being proactive and taking the measures so that this devastation could be stopped. And then he can ask the students, if the devastation has taken place, what disaster management strategies could be planned in the region so that the disaster can be managed properly. So whether the measures which were taken by the state at that particular point of time were relevant, were sufficient, were effective. So here the evaluation skills of the learners can be used. I have picked up another case which you can see is in a detailed study. Now that was only few pages of a case study. Now this is an industrial case study which is of cement industry. So it is of 69 pages. So which may not be used in a classroom as such, but given to students for independent reading at home, and maybe they do the analysis, answer your questions which are applicable. You can ask them how the cement industry came into being, what are the major activities being undertaken, how the industry has improved its product, and so on. See, here it is, everything is available in this case when it comes to the cement industry. So the questions will be making the student aware, if I'm dealing with the cement manufacturing and the distribution of cement and the sale of cement and so on, maybe this industry which is dealing with what was the energy usage, economic statistics, then you have cement production process and energy use, you can see. And then it has also taken up the customer opinion with respect to the industry. So customer opinion is also available, energy efficiency initiatives which have been taken by the industry, then what kind of opportunities and barriers. So these are the 6 major sections which are available in this particular report. So the questions which can be raised by the teacher with respect to the learners would be with respect to these 6 sections. So you can think of it is a very detailed study which can be taken up. So you can have a 1 or 2 pages case, or you may have a very short scenario presented to the learner. Maybe a half-page case is given. Oh, what is happening? So you can see, likewise, this is another case which is available on the Science Direct, the journal which is published. Many of the cases are available in terms of the failure analysis. And here you will see case study of severe strip breakage in rolling mill of thin slab casting and rolling, shop of Tata Steel, Jamshedpur. Another real case where the detailed study is available in form of published paper. So 8-page case study is available in as far as the this is concerned. Then you can see that we have another case, just giving you that cases are not limited. There are number of cases which are available. Only thing is, this is a case which is available on the disaster management report on Uttarakhand devastating river floods, which we have all witnessed during 2013. If not witnessed, maybe we have read and kept account of those things which have happened in Uttarakhand in 2013. So again, you will see that this kind of case study is available and how the disaster was managed during that time. And now you can see it deals with the prevention disaster management in India. This just introduction. What was the analysis made? So your questions to the students can pertain to whether the analysis was justified, whether the team could do the analysis accurately, and whether now after the analysis, once you go through the analysis, then the measures which have been taken, the measures which have been taken, whether those were justified and what else could be done. Maybe I'm just thinking of 3 broad questions and whether it could serve the purpose. Now, again, you will see this is another case study which is available on the failure analysis of bearing in a helicopter turbine engine. So due to electrical discharge damage. Now this case may be taken up by the students of electrical engineering, maybe by the mechanical engineers, and they can both utilize this case. If you look at, then this is again mechanical bevel gears in an aircraft engine. So investigating the failure. So I just wanted to make you aware that cases are available, and as far as the management is concerned, the discipline of management, we are all familiar. All books contain number of cases with respect to the various aspects which are dealt there, whether it is HRD, whether it is performance analysis, whether it is the principles of management, and so on. So across the disciplines, case studies can be used. And these case studies can be of 2 types. When I say these case studies can be of 2 types, they can be inductive case studies, there can be deductive case studies. Now, when we say inductive case studies, how would you differentiate between inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning? Over to the participants. How would you interpret these 2 terms, inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning? G. Anyone from the participants? Jitendra ji, would you like to answer? Hello.
We can only assume, I can only assume that in an inductive case study, we induct a few parameters, more parameters, we take the case study to a wider parameter, whereas in deductive case study, we deduct the parameters and go to a precise point. I assume so.
Okay. Anybody else who would like to answer the question? Are you there, Jitendra? Maybe not. Okay, 3rd member is not available. G. Anybody else would like to reply to the question? No. No response. Chalo. Now, when we say deductive reasoning, that means we are deducing, that is applying a general principle to a given situation. Inductive is that we have 3-4 similar cases and we deduce a generalized rule from there. Inductive reasoning means you move from example to the rule, and deductive reasoning means you move from general principle to an example. Now, for example, if I say all human beings are mortal, right? I am a human being, thus I am mortal. This is nothing but an example of the in deductive reasoning where a generalized rule is applied to an example. But when I say, let's take an example that a book on research written by author A consists a chapter on sampling. Another book on research methodology written by author B also contains a chapter on sampling, and likewise C and D. And we come to the conclusion all books on research methodology contain a chapter on sampling. This is nothing but inductive reasoning. Or say, for example, if I take up cases of the institutions which have occupied the first position in NIRF for the last 4 years. So I have the case studies of those 4 institutions and I draw certain generalized principles how the institution can acquire the first position in NIRF and come to those conclusions. This is nothing but an inductive case studies. Right? Is it clear now? Is it okay?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So a teacher can, if he wants that student should be able to apply the learned knowledge and in the given situation, then deductive case studies. And if he wants that student should be able to apply the learned knowledge to arrive at certain generalized principles based upon the cases given to them, then he must use the inductive case studies. And here you can see that what is involved in the case study method. The case study method, the first role of the teacher would be to select an appropriate case. Maybe for all the topics which are there in the top subject, you are not having cases, but wherever you can think of, locate or create a case, that case must be written. Today, number of organizations, they are organizing workshops to enable the faculty to write cases for the various courses which they are teaching. So how to write a cases itself, a training is required where you are making it very explicit, a given situation and how you include the application of journal rules or techniques or theories. That has to be seen. Then content of the case study must demonstrate principle to be developed. Now, as I simply took an example that we have taken an example of earthquake or we have taken an example of a cement industry. Now here, the case is that the process, you have seen that in case of cement industry, it was more of not the principle, but the process, the steps which have been followed to manufacture the cement. So that is one process which it demonstrates. Or if it demonstrates that how energy efficient to make the cement industry energy efficient, what are some of the initiatives taken by so there the students learn the principles. They will find out which principle has been applied in that situation and whether it was justified or not to make the industry energy efficient. So what principle or theory or model or the process you want your students to learn or apply, you must ensure that the case has that kind of principle, process, technique, model inbuilt. Then the teacher need to give adequate time to the learners to study the case. Now, these days, not only written cases, but video cases are also available. Uh, I was looking at the internet and I found that crash of an airplane. That video of 11 minutes is available on the YouTube, and that itself can be viewed by the learners, and then they can be made to think what could be the possible reasons of that plane crash. Recently, we have seen that Nepal, it was day before yesterday that we had this news that there was a plane crash in Pokhara while landing. Before landing, it just was engulfed in flames, and all the 72 people have died. Now, this particular small case incident, which is now available in a video form, even that can be used. And people have already said it was not the bad weather, but it something went wrong in that there was maybe a technical fault. So, can the students be involved in imagining what could be the probable causes for that kind of air crash? Now, this is very specific to the discipline. So, one can think of such things in one course of study, the courses which you are teaching. So, the teacher needs to provide this case to the students, maybe individually or in groups. If I am using it as a small group method, then I can use a group of 4 to 6 students, and they can read that case individually first, and then they can enter into a group discussion among themselves, and the questions which you have posed at the end of the case, they can try to answer those questions, or if they have questions, they can clarify those questions from each other. So when the student is listening to the other individual, so even that will clarify many of the doubts of the learner. So peer learning also takes place when you give the case study in small groups. And this is where what is important is, if a small case, you have half an hour in the class, it is a small case and you have raised only 2-3 questions, maybe half an hour you have given to your students to read that for 10 minutes, discuss among themselves for 10 minutes, and then come to the conclusion for another 10 minutes. So your 10, 10 plus 10, 30 minutes time is required for a small case which you have given to the students. If it is a 68, 69 pages, the students can take the case at home. They can study it thoroughly. Maybe the discussion they can do in the class for maybe 1 hour or half an hour, depending upon what exactly you want them to draw conclusions from the case. And on the basis of that, you can develop the higher level abilities among your students. And this is one where this method can be used by the teacher, where the cases are available, or you can create your own cases. The second method of instruction, which is the seminar, and I said seminar is being used by the teachers, but the way seminar is used may be appropriate or may not be appropriate, because my observation says it is altogether left to the learners. And once they give the seminar, teacher assumes that students have understood that topic. All the time it doesn't happen. The teacher has to make lot more preparation when the topic is given to the students for seminar presentation. And here you will see that seminar, because it involves the presentation by a student on a given topic or an issue, so students get a chance to learn that topic independently on their own. So it develops learning to learn skills among the students, and it also develops the analytical skills, because once a topic is read, the conclusions need to be drawn, or if you have given them a problem that need to be solved, so conclusions need to be drawn, and problem need to be solved. So higher level abilities are developed. Then presentation skills, because seminar would require oral presentation by the students. So you can develop their communication skills or presentation skills. Both can be developed with the help of seminar. And it is also that when you give a seminar to a group of students, then one of them can take up the role of a leader, and remaining they work as a team. So somebody emerges as a leader out of the group, which tries to take the final decisions for the group. So leadership skills can also be developed, and then it promotes or develops the self-confidence on the part of the learners. So these are some of the benefits that will accrue to the learners, and they'll be able to achieve the higher level learning outcomes in the cognitive domain. At the same time, they'll be able to develop the confidence, communication skills, presentation skills, and all these problem solving skills. They can also become a part of your affective domain, where we are talking in terms of communication, ability to work in teams, and confidence, and so on. So you can think that it is not only enabling the objectives, the learning outcomes to be achieved in the cognitive domain, but you can also encourage students to achieve learning outcomes in the affective domain, especially related to soft skills. Then comes the seminar. All of us, simple way of defining the seminar. Then where one trainee or several prepares a given topic or a problem, which is then presented to the whole group for discussion or analysis. And this particular seminar strategy which is being used, both teacher and student. So teacher cannot say that I have allocated the topic or I have left the topic to the students, so now this is what they have to do. But teacher has to do number of activities. First thing is that select topics for seminar. Now when I say select topics, maybe a teacher tries to enlist the topics which form part of the syllabus, right? So the course which you are teaching, there are say 10 topics which are there, and you have a class of 60. Maybe in the beginning of the semester, you try to take a decision that how you are going to group the students, 6 students. So you are trying to group them on the basis of maybe their previous attainments, maybe on the basis of their communication skills, or you know that these are some of the students who are leaders. If you are giving it to the second year or third year students you are familiar with. If you are going for the first year, maybe that data which is available is limited with you. But while you form groups, you are encouraging that different levels of attainments or different ability levels or students with different skills, they are grouped together to form the groups, and then they are allowed to select the topic. So students are given the freedom to pick up whether they would like to present a seminar on topic 1, topic 2, 3, and 10. So you have 10 groups, so they pick up the topics. So in the beginning of the semester, they know on which topic they are going to make the presentation. So what happens? Then you allow the groups to chalk out strategies, right? And here I would say that your presentation of the presentations will not start from day 1, but they'll start if you are giving topics. Then topic 1, once you have completed the topic 1, 2, and 3, you can ask the student to go for presentation of seminar on topic 1. Now, what the benefit will accrue to the learners is, it's a revision which will take place because students have got your input. Now they will access other resources and supplement what has been discussed in the class and what is available in the book. And here I would say there's more clarity would come among the students who are giving the seminar, as well as it will give the opportunity to other students to clarify their doubts. As you have already delivered, so you are well versed with the topic which is being taken up. And I would also say it is not only that the teacher has given the topic, taught the topic, referred to the books, but the teacher need to facilitate the access to the relevant resources which are available in the form of journal articles, handbooks, encyclopedias, etc. to the students, because lot of material is available, and for that matter information literacy, that skill need to be there with the student, otherwise they'll be wasting the time. So can we facilitate which is the most relevant site for taking up this kind of information? So can I suggest to my students that for topic 1, these are some of the websites which they need to access. These are some of the slides which are available. These are some of the videos these are some of the journal articles which are available. So seminar strategy expects that role to be played by the teacher. It need not be completely left to the learner. Another very important aspect is, this is one, that you are giving the topics of the course. Another is latest developments in the industry which have taken place. So you have this topic, or technology being used by the industry in the vicinity. So you have identified industry which is there in the environment, and vicinity which is accessible to the learners, and then you are giving them to go and take up a small study of what or you have identified the websites of the industry, and you are giving this topic to the students for the seminar, that go to the site of Tata, then you go to the Honda, then you go to Hyundai, or you go to the BMW. These websites are available and they are all producing cars. So what technology and what new models of cars are coming up? This is one. Or you have the companies of mobile phones, electronic students. So whether they can go for identifying the latest techniques which are used, latest features which are embedded into the mobile phones and so on. So this kind of a topic which you are giving, the teacher must have gone through those sites himself or herself. Everything cannot be left. So you must have complete information with you, because when the students are going to make the presentations in the class, you should be sure that the correct information is presented by the students. And you must tell them before the topic you have given them the resources, you are providing the time for preparation. At the same time, the criteria for evaluation, how you are going to evaluate a seminar. And for that matter, if there is a preparation of a rubric by the teacher to evaluate the performance of the learners, you can prepare a rubric for the teacher. Teacher can evaluate, or you can prepare a rubric which can be used by the members of the class. So other students can evaluate the seminar or the seminar on the basis of the criteria which you have enlisted. Now, the benefit of identifying the criteria for seminar would be that student will be able to align their seminar to the criteria of evaluation. So their performance would be much better if no criteria for evaluation is given. If I know that my rate of delivery will be one which will be assessed, I know that the coverage of content or the number of resources I have accessed, that is one of the criteria to evaluate this seminar, then I will ensure that I try to use maximum resources whereby I come in the category of excellent performance. So I try to use the maximum number of resources. Or if it is going to that coverage of content and the points which we have taken up, that current developments in industry. So how many? 4, 5 minimum, what are those required? So if I know that, maximum marks will be given to the one who has coverage of say 6, then maybe 6 developments which are there in the electronics industry. So maybe I'm focusing on in gaining information with respect to those 6 current developments. So, or I'm looking at that if a topic is given and I have to deal with the concept, I have to deal with the types, I have to deal with the applications, I have to deal with the limitations of that, then 4 things. So I ensure that the seminar we present as a group, it includes the concept, it includes the types, it includes the application, it includes the limitation. No part is left. So as to enable us to fetch the highest marks or highest scores in that, if it is graded, right? So the teacher is not a passive listener in the class as far as the seminar is concerned. He has to make a lot of planning and preparation before he assigns or he allows the students to select a topic for the seminar. Then when it comes to during the seminar, the teacher most of the time listens only, keeps himself in the background, but at the same time, he's taking care of the time which is made available to the learner. So if you have given 15 minutes seminar or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you must ensure that within 30 minutes that presentation is over or seminar is over. Or if you have kept 3 presentations, half an hour, half an hour, half an hour, then it is followed by the discussion, question answer sessions. Then you must ensure that nobody overshoots the time available. And if there are certain problems which arise while the students are making the presentation, maybe they wanted to use the internet and that internet is not available. So can I do that? Or if there is an argument that has taken between the listener and the presenters, some question which has been raised, student is unable. So the teacher's role is that to intervene there and answer the question or help the learners to answer the question of the listeners. So can we facilitate that process? Or if the 2 students have become aggressive, can I pacify both of them and maintain decorum in the class? That is my duty as a teacher. And then while the students are presenting the seminar, I need to evaluate as per the rubric which I have prepared. I'm not going into rubric. I know that detailed sessions are there in the program with respect to the rubric. Then you have, if peer evaluation is to be carried out, that means students have to evaluate. So say you have made 10 groups. So all the 9 other groups, they are evaluating the performance of the 10th group. And thereby, every group gets evaluated by the other 9 groups. So you will have 9 evaluation sheets, rubrics filled in by the other groups, and then you can arrive at a weighted average score of that particular group. And believe me that I have used this strategy at the master's level. And initially, I had all the apprehension that students will give higher marks to themselves, but it didn't happen. They were very realistic. and they were more satisfied as compared to the teacher evaluating the student. So they were more satisfied when they were evaluated by their own peer members. So this particular strategy can be utilized in the classroom for the various things. I would say the strategy you need to decide is whether course topics are to be taken up, whether other related current developments, technology trends, or maybe students are giving seminar on the community problems, which will finally help them to take up the project. So you decide the strategy which you are going to utilize and for what purpose seminars. So you can have a mixed strategy, a few topics which are more relevant, which are more application oriented. So you want to use a seminar strategy for them. You can involve your learners to interact with the community and then give a seminar in the class to highlight their problems and so on. So find out which particular strategy would be more appropriate for the course you are teaching. Then the third method of instruction, which has been given to me, and just giving you an overview of group discussion. Now, this is small group discussion, certainly, and group discussions that we are all familiar that even when our students go for the campus placements or they go for the placements, even then they are involved in group discussion. But here I would be restricting myself to the classroom discussions which can be held. Now here when we look at the group discussion, some of the purposes which can be served by the group discussion. So that means whatever information different people have, it gives you a platform to share the information with others. And that information sharing will lead to drawing logical conclusions. And if you have given them an issue that need to be resolved. Now, say for example, I pose a very simple whether plastics need to be used or not to be used in day-to-day life. Plastics, very simple one. Or we have waste. So how to manage that waste? Recycling of waste, there are a number of ways to utilize that. So waste management. So this I've given them how to go about the household waste management each day which we gather, right? Or maybe we have a problem that we have a digital divide in the country, a very big digital divide. So whether MOOCs, the massive open online courses, they'll be appropriate or not, right? So maybe that is a problem. Or I have a problem that there is lot of threats to our data which we save on our computers or we use mobile phones, and lot of data which is saved on computer when we do go for online and so on. So what are the cyber threats which are there and how that cyber security can be improved upon, maybe related to the computer science, or as the person said that he's from the commercial arts. So we can think of, can we have different designs or prepared by the, or maybe we have street arts. So can we show them and then we engage them in group discussion, which particular design would be much better and why it is much better, why and whether it, why the appeal of one. So you have a criteria which has been laid down. So you may involve students in group discussion in evaluating the various pieces of commercial art, right? Then it may be with respect to resolution of a conflict. So depending upon, if I am a teacher of political science, maybe I can take up this Russia and Ukraine conflict that has been there and may involve my students in the group discussion, the role of NATO, the role of US, and so on. Or as a, maybe we can, the political parties which are there in the country, what kind of conflict they have with each other. So we can have the conflicts or conflicts among the different approaches. So you can think of why smart manufacturing, why additive manufacturing, why one should go in for the remote sensing, why, and so on. So number of things can be taken up. It can be in the form of a topic, an issue, a conflict, or it can be in terms of a problem given to the students to find, or it may be that certain artifacts are given for evaluation to the group. They can have group discussion, evaluate that, and so on. So here the purpose which group discussion can fulfill is it can enhance the knowledge of the learner. Because if the students have to participate in group discussion, they need to have thorough knowledge of the content. And this is where we face as teacher most of the difficulty when we try to organize group discussion. So many of the students, they will come unprepared in the class. So this is where we need to, I would say in schools, we are more serious, but in colleges, as we grow, we take these things very lightly and we do not try to be sincere and honest and prepare ourselves for the discussion. So the very first thing is that we need to develop that kind of learning to learn skills among our students so that when a topic is given, then if you are actually going in for peer evaluation where you take the seminar group, there were 6 students. So 6 students evaluate each other's contribution to group discussion. That case, the student will be more serious and will come prepared to participate in the group discussion. If it's not done any kind of evaluation, then maybe he doesn't bother. So 4 members are ready with it, they are prepared, and they are doing most of the time they are discussing it. Maybe there are 2 students who are silent throughout. So individual contribution to the group discussion can be evaluated by the members of that particular group. And further, it can be taken into account while the teacher does the final evaluation. Then exploring the need for studying a given topic. So maybe nowadays we are talking in terms of sustainability and 17 SDGs. So maybe you can think of how electrical engineering can contribute to SDGs, how civil engineer can contribute to SDG, and which particular SDG civil engineer can contribute more, likewise computers, likewise mechanical, likewise sociologist, psychologist, or person from commercial art, where he can make a contribution to the society when it comes to welfare of the people, good quality of life of people, good quality, decent work in the organization. What is the role of that commercial artist in that? And then maybe the architecture, the ma'am, Jitinder ji, she can think of how the buildings need to be designed, what kind of learning spaces need to be provided so that enable the students to achieve more. So maybe we can think of the topics relevant to the various courses. Then this will help because I said you can think of the latest issues, latest problems in the society. So the students have to learn their topics, acquire new information, the current developments, so they will remain up to date. And if you have given a problem to the learners to find solution to that problem, then problem solving ability gets honed. And group discussions can also lead to arousing the motivation and interest of the students while they listen to the different viewpoints or they listen to their peer members. Maybe this itself becomes motivating for the learner, that that gentleman is giving us good ideas. So why not that I also make a thorough preparation the next time, and I also create an impression on them, motivation to learn, right? Or the person gets motivated to interact with experts together, expert opinion, and share with the members of the class, and then perform well, motivation. Then interest in the subject may be deepened by the group discussion that takes place, because it is you go deeper into the subject matter, so it will may arouse deeper interest in the subject, in the course or the subject or the topic which is at hand. So these are some of the purposes which are served by group discussions. And here when you look at the group discussion, what is this? All these skills which we have and which are important from the workplace point of view, you can see that these skills get developed because group discussion involves interaction, so communication. And if you are giving an argument, you need to put the logic behind, so reasoning ability. So group discussion, even within the group discussion, somebody emerges as a leader, so the leadership skills get honed. And then it also motivates the learners to take the initiative to contribute new ideas, initiative to go and tap additional resources. So initiative, they take initiative to contribute their original new ideas in the group discussion. Then assertiveness, because whatever point they're making, if they think that point is logical, they need to assert on that. So assertiveness skills also gets honed. Flexibility. Now here when they are listening to others, they become more open, receptive to the other's point of view, and thus become flexible. Ability to think on one's feet, immediately they have to give up their opinion, so they are ready to give their point of view, and it also helps them to work in groups, respect others, recognize others, and so on. Now, creativity, also some originality, unique ideas coming up. And when it is simple, it is a face-to-face interaction among a small group of people. We all know that. So exchange of information, exchange of opinion, or what we have discussed is you can resolve an issue, solve a problem, or resolve a conflict. Let's not go. Now, what is it that makes a group discussion a good group discussion? Any group discussion which is goal directed. That means all the students must understand the intent of organizing a group discussion. So whether it is that they would acquire clarity about the topic, clarity about the issue, or whether the intent of the group discussions to find a solution to the problem or resolving a conflict. So what is it that is the purpose of organizing the group discussion? And that needs to be regulated by an agenda. Now, whenever in the class a group discussion is given to the learners, you give time, so ask them to divide their time. If they're going to discuss, take up a topic, what are the various aspects of the topic and how much time they would like to give to each part of that topic. If it is going to be the problem, then whether they are giving some time to think over the problem, 5 minutes to each individual to think of the problem, then each one is giving an idea 5 or 10 minutes for getting ideas from the members, then another 10 minutes for arriving at the approach, how that problem need to be solved, and another 10 minutes to finalize the ideas. So how they are going to do that? So they should be very clear of the steps they are going to follow, and they need to follow that schedule which they prepare. If it is agenda, so topic, this much, this much, this much for this. So 10 minutes for this, 10 minutes for another, 10 minutes for. So they need to regulate that agenda. Then what happens otherwise? Sometimes it happens that the issues which are taken up earlier, more time is devoted to that. Issues which come at the end of that discussion, hardly time is left to discuss them. So quick decisions are taken on that. This is normally what happens in the when we also have group discussions on various topics. Then ensure participation of all members. So it is two things. The leader of the group must ensure participation, and if the teacher is there in the class and he's observing and monitoring the participation, he must ensure that no member is left out from the group discussion. So he may spend few minutes with the group and see how members are contributing to that. And if I said you have a peer evaluation, then certainly that itself will be motivating to the members to participate. Then it is based upon that members will cooperate with each other. So dominance of any kind need to be curbed in the group discussion. So there's one member who always jumps at the ideas and then he interrupts the others and only gives his own idea, his or her, it can be anyway. So person has to assume this group discussion can be effective only when the members understand that each member has a role to play. And it requires a leader. This we have already discussed. Now here, when we talk in terms of group discussion, so it has three important things. Initiation, body of the group discussion, where you spend most of the time in debating, discussing the issues, then summarizing and concluding. So initiation phase is where anyone from the group can take the lead. So that person may emerge as a leader otherwise also, who clarifies the purpose, the objectives of group discussion, and clarifies the agenda to which all the members accept it. Body of the group discussion is that where they take up the problem, analyze it, diagnose it, find different approaches which can be used to find solution to the problem, and then the summarization and conclusion is they select a particular approach and justify that approach. So here this can be that any group discussion would pass through these three phases. So that must be that learners need to be prepared for group discussion, and teacher role is that you need to plan a discussion for which topic you are going to and how much time you are going to provide to the learners. How many days before the group discussion actually takes place, you give information to your students that there will be group, because group discussion can be spontaneous also. Sometimes you may not inform your learner, but you can have a discussion on the issue within the class itself, and you need to be prepared for it, how much time you are going to give them. So group discussion, at least half an hour, you need to provide to them. Then setting and keeping the discussion in motion. So you need to have the arrangement in the class also and see that every member is contributing. Then the teacher role is that he should keep monitor time and give them the instruction to end the discussion. So group discussion need to be finalized. So here, whenever GD is, we know that there is a leader, there is a member. So I would only say whosoever is the leader, He has to perform these three roles: task function, maintenance function, and hindering functions. Now, when we say task function, now the person has to provide the information when it is sought by the members. He has to seek opinions from the members. He has to explain, elaborate on the points given by the members, and he has to coordinate among the members that allow each member 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes to participate in that. And he should see that he doesn't do any injustice to any member in the group. Then the person who's doing this, he's also evaluating the ideas and stimulating others to give ideas. Then maintenance function is that he must ensure that there is cordial relation among the people and there's no aggressive or wrong comments given by the people, and there is proper communication taking place among the group members, and they are able to accept the viewpoint of others. And if somebody is misbehaving or trying to dominate or trying to take a plea for the special interest, maybe it is my interest that I want to safeguard my personal interest by making a point, then that should not be taken into consideration. So somebody, that means the leader, must try to stop that kind of individual interest being propagated or voiced in the group discussion, right? And we should also, a leader need to avoid. Why I am saying these three roles, because teacher has to be, can also take up these three roles. In the beginning, when the students have been involved in group discussion, maybe these three functions leader of the group needs to take. But teacher, if he finds that leader is not able to, then another member can take up the leadership role, or the teacher can intervene and take up any one of these roles so that the group functions smoothly, right? So I will not take up this because this is where we are not, chhod do isko, this is done. This is also not needed because when we talk in terms of the group discussions, these are applicable to the members and the group. So I'm not going to deal with this. I would stop here and over to the group members. There are 15 minutes. So let's go by the question and answer session rather than going by the do's and don'ts of group discussion. Over to the members. So we have about 15 minutes. G, over to the audience, anything. How many of you, three of you, are you utilizing case studies, seminars, group discussions in your discipline? G, Dr. Rohit?
Yes, madam. We are teaching MBA students and we are using case studies, simulation methods.
Management method, there are number
Yes,
of cases which are available, and we
Yes,
cannot
ma'am.
teach management without case studies. Fine. So आपका
Yes.
तो सीधा ही है कि management, and any specific difficulty which you face when you utilize the case studies in the class.
Like that problem solving, like we illustrate also that these are the methods to solve the case study. When we give the case study to the students, we tell them to mark, to underline the important issues, the critical issues, then try to find out solutions. But the kind of initiation is not there from their end, and
Okay.
that is the
Okay.
reason.
So I think
Interest.
we get this good idea that when you give the case study, is it given individually or in groups?
Madam, in groups we give.
in groups. So some time has to be given to the individual student to read through so that he can underline the important points, and then they come to the discussion part of this. Okay, so initiation at the level of the learner, that is missing, and we face this problem. But as I said, if you start doing the evaluation of individual contribution made to the discussion by the students, so peer evaluation you try to encourage, that will help the student to be ready to participate in discussions. Okay. Dr.
Right.
Ankin, are you utilizing this? Any
Yes,
one
ma'am,
of
of course.
these methods?
Yes, ma'am, of course, we do the case studies in our subject. Like we do advertising campaigns, and
Okay.
few of the advertising campaigns are very popular among all of us. So
Abhi,
we,
management से हो?
pardon, ma'am?
Are you from management?
No, ma'am, I'm from commercial art. In
हाँ,
commercial art, we
अच्छा
do,
सॉरी ठीक है, कमर्शियल
yes,
आर्ट में
ma'am.
भी एडवर्टाइजिंग कैंपेन्स होंगी. ओके.
Yes, ma'am. We design print advertisements, photography, and packaging. Other these commercial things, ma'am.
ओके. ओके.
So some advertising campaigns are very popular among us. We do case study that in a particular earlier time Hutch advertising campaign, they choose particular media as a leader. They used hoardings as a teaser. So media scheduling, media planning, and other theme they used in the campaign. So these Hutch, Surf, Pepsi, all these things we used daily basis pay daily on the daily basis. And
नहीं नहीं, are these cases available in writing? Are they cases or the teachers have prepared these cases?
ma'am, I do not understand your question, ma'am,
No,
please.
no. Whether the case study which you have said Pepsi, you have
Yes,
said
ma'am.
other companies, they are utilizing advertising campaigns, and you try to analyze. Now, here the students, what kind of case is given to the learner?
Ma'am, say for example, I take a example of a case study of XUV 700 launched by Mahindra. Say for
Okay,
example.
okay. So, okay.
So first of
Is it
all,
available? Is it available? The case study of SUV Mahindra, is it available, or that you have developed yourself?
no, ma'am, things some many things, many datas are available on the website.
Data is
They are,
but are they
they
documented by the teacher in the form of case study?
yes, ma'am, we all do this.
Are you
Teachers and
documenting
students as
those?
well.
Okay.
Teachers and as well
Okay.
as the
So you
students.
are preparing a case for your learners and utilizing that in classroom by giving that case to the student to arrive at some generalized principle, or you ask them to apply the principle to the case. कैसे यूज कर रहे हैं?
Ma'am, first thing comes is the analysis of case. Okay, how to
Okay.
analyze the case, point out the current data out of the case.
Okay.
For example,
Okay.
there is a product, Mahindra and XUV product. The first thing the student should analyze the type of theme which they have used. Is it a scientific or a humorous or a
Fine.
subconscious type of theme? So
Fine.
what type of theme they have used in their advertising campaign?
Advertise.
So first thing is the analysis of a correct data, correct analysis of the present data. Then after they do the correct analysis, I asked them, if you would have been the designer, how would you have been
Would you go
in the
about
other
it?
way? Then comes the creativity. That the an expert in some Gurgaon or Mumbai has done it in such a way. I would have done it in such a way. So then comes the creation part of the case study. In such a way, we do this, ma'am. Even in written, we
Very
do the
nice.
project
Very
report.
nice. I think it has given me that you have advertisements. So copies of the advertisements can be utilized as a case, and students can be asked to go deeper and find out the what kind of analysis they come out with, what principles have been used, as you said, whether it is scientific, humorous, static, etc., etc., and then they can what approach they would prefer and justify that approach, and then you come out with what could be the originality of comparing with the expert. Good
Yes,
one,
ma'am.
good one,
Thank
good
you.
one. And whether do you utilize seminars also?
We do seminars, but it is less often because less
Okay.
resources and less things, ma'am.
Okay, seminar strategy is not utilized, but case studies are utilized. And what about the group discussions? Do
We
we?
do quite often. We
No.
do quite often.
Acha, you do quite often. Any
Yes,
kind
ma'am.
of problems faced in utilization of group discussions?
Uh, is the in fact it's that the student have to do so many jobs that they cannot focus on a particular thing. That's the thing, ma'am.
Uh,
Some of
I
them are
think we are
academic.
making education very simplified for the learners, right? But the same students, when they go abroad, they're putting 20 hours in study. How can they put in 20 hours, but not in India? Why? The same student.
No, ma'am,
है ना?
it's not about no, ma'am, it's not about Indian abroad. Even in India, there are many very good colleges like JJ School of Arts, Mumbai, MS
हाँ
University,
जी,
Baroda, Delhi College of Art,
हाँ,
Delhi. But
हाँ.
we are at Polytechnic, so the infrastructure
नहीं,
and the
but चलो
system.
ऐसे है कि that means we are talking in terms of the ground realities which may differ, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
But
ma'am.
can we, within the available resources, what best can be done? So I would say, even if you are based at which place?
Ma'am, at Women's Polytechnic College, Jodhpur,
Jodhpur से हैं आप?
Rajasthan. Yes, ma'am,
Wow,
Rajasthan.
good. Number of times I've been there. Okay.
Lovely
तो
place, ma'am.
जोधपुर का तो कॉलेज ही बहुत अच्छा है, बड़े वाला, पुराने वाला. Is it the one?
It is Polytechnic College, ma'am.
हाँ, पॉलिटेक्निक. I've been to Polytechnic College.
Women's Polytechnic College, ma'am.
Women भी और दूसरा भी, बॉयज वाला भी, दोनों
Good,
ही.
ma'am. Good, ma'am.
So good to know that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Maybe what we need to look into is the topics, the problems, the issues which we take up. If we can have very relevant issues, like I still remember that your own institution, maybe Women Polytechnic, was there, and the person said, I asked my students to go to the street, sit there. There are rickshaw pullers sitting there, and they can sketch those. This was where the students had shown a lot of interest in doing the sketching on the spot, and they were sitting throughout the day and completing their sketches. So it was very realistic, and they were using their creativity also while they were asked to do the sketching of rickshaw puller. So different people have taken up different backgrounds and started sketching the rickshaw pullers, common reality. And as you said, if we can think of problems relevant to where they can apply these commercial art principles, as you said, taking up advertisements and then having a discussion on that. So every commercial art में आपका आप कह रहे हो कि जैसे पैकेजिंग है या पैकेजिंग कंपैरिजंस कर सकते हैं या एडवर्टीजमेंट्स का कंपैरिजन कर सकते हैं. So maybe the more relevance you create, the more interest the student will take in participating in those. So that's not compulsion. Maybe in the beginning we face issues, but gradually you will see that their participation will improve. So, okay, and we have another member, Dr. Aruna. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So, ma'am, out of these three methods which we have discussed, which one are used by you in your courses?
Seminar, group project, and group discussions are oftenly we conduct.
So group discussions and what else? Seminars.
Seminar project.
Okay. And any specific problems being faced in organizing seminars and group discussions?
So far organization is concerned, there is no problem, but implementation there is a problem, because whenever we ask students to give particular topic seminar, what happens? Suppose the strength, I am the class teacher of class strength 80. So out of 80 students, if I ask to present the seminar on different, suppose 10 or 20 topics, they have to choose any topic as per their convenience from the list. But students are never interested to pick up the topic, or rather to present the topic or anything. Hardly there are 10% students who are self-motivated. There are 20% students who motivate. When we motivate themselves, they turn to be motivated. But unfortunately still 50% of the class is there, छोड़ दो ना मैडम, it's okay ना मैडम, उन्होंने दिया है ना, like this mentality is always there. So this is
Are these seminars given individually or in groups?
no, seminars are given individually, but for project and group discussion we offer group.
With the group discussion, the seminars are given to the individually to the learners. It is very difficult to organize 80 seminars during the semester.
Yeah.
So first thing I would request that if you can 80 students, so you can have groups where you have 8 students in each group. So you have only 10 groups working there. And whenever you have a seminar to be presented, the topic which the students have selected, they need to be topic breakdown and identify its important components and parts, and then allocate one part to each member of the group. So student gets only a part of the topic and he prepares for that, and then completely they join together and prepare a seminar. So even when you say 8 members, because all members will have some capability, so whosoever is the best presenter in that group, the person with better communication skills can take the role of making the presentation. If you are giving topics more than one to the group, then different members can be given the or while they're making a seminar presentation, the part which has been assigned to the member, that part can be presented by that particular member. So even that you can ensure that 3 to 4 members out of the 8 can make presentation, or if they choose, all the 8 can be involved and time can be allocated in that respect too. Because I have All India Council for Technical Education, they had gone for providing awards to the institution where the student teams made the presentation on the projects which they have taken up. And it was amazing that a group of 6 students, and they were given only 15, less than 15 minutes to make the presentation. All the 6 participated in making that presentation on the theme. And it was a wonderful experience for everyone, how beautifully they coordinated the various elements and then made the presentation, and each one of them got the opportunity. So can we train our students that within the time available, they can distribute that time among themselves and come and make the presentation in a way that will help the learners to work in teams and be prepared for that portion that has been, and others can contribute at the planning stage. While they are preparing and planning, others can contribute to the other aspects also, and this will help them to learn from each other also. So this you can do so as to encourage students to participate in the seminar strategy, not giving them individually 80 seminars. It is very difficult to manage 80. Otherwise, you can have different, so 10 topics if you are able to cover, maybe you are able to cover 20 topics, 2 topics given to each group, and they perform. And what about group discussions? Any difficulty you experience in that?
Uh, in group discussion, what happens? Suppose we have made a group of 4 or 8 students. Generally, again, same thing happened. 2 or 3 students, they come up with their ideas, they present well,
Uh,
and
okay.
other students, they are not contributing.
So, ma'am, for that matter, we have already in the discussion said that involve a component of peer evaluation. So, 8 members, if you have in the group, so 8 are evaluating the contribution of each other. So, what was the contribution of each member? So, start using rubric and ask the student to say what was the contribution of each member in the group discussion. So that one may help. Another is that each member given 1 or 2 minutes to speak. So kitne din nahi bolega? Gradually, students will start speaking if there are specific time allocated to each member for the discussion. Ensure that. So, आप क्या सोचते हैं कि when you organize group discussions and seminars or you use case studies, whether students enjoy it or do not enjoy it? जी
Of
बच्चे
course, students should enjoy it.
शुड वाली बात तो एज अ टीचर आई वुड ऑलवेज से, पर बच्चे करते हैं या जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कि 50% नहीं है, बट ग्रेजुअली आई वुड से if you evolve procedures to ensure the participation of all, then certainly these methods are going to be more useful and develop the higher level abilities among the students. तो कोशिश जारी रखिए, and maybe I would say in due course of time you will see the results of your effort which you put in teaching learning processes. So anything else you would like to contribute? G, over to the group members. Any other thing you would like to highlight? Nothing?
Again, one more problem, same problem is there. We are giving projects to the students.
G.
Again, group activity. So some
Right.
part of the working model, say there are 4 students in a group and we offer a project as a continuous assessment for the students. 4 students are there, but it may so happen if the project work is completed by 2 students.
No,
Now
ma'am.
this is one case.
Ma'am, the
And
same
others,
thing. No, same thing should happen. So the project involves number of activities. Depending upon the capability of the individual, let the group member decide which activity, which particular member will be taking up. So they should segregate and earmark activities against the student. So each student needs to complete that component on his own, and then that completes, and there is interdependence. If member 1 completes the task, member 2 can complete another activity, member 2 can complete the activity, then member 3 can take up, member 3 can complete, then member 4 can take up. So you need to, because when we say team, there are different tasks which need to be allocated to members according to their ability, and one needs to create interdependence among them. Unless and until that is there, students may simply be the observer in that group and only 2 members are working. So ensure that individual task assignment to the member, and their contribution must be evaluated on the basis of that particular task, and final rating may take into account that component also. So that has to be there, because we leave to 4 members, only 2 work and 2 do not work, so that and each one of them get the same mark. That should not happen. So individual contribution, that should be evaluated, and final grading may differ from one student to another in the same group depending upon individual contribution. Then you will see that students will be more serious and will be more participative. जी मैम?
Okay, ma'am.
So thank you very